Good morning, good morning. Welcome to a new edition of Pen and Ink and a Webcam. I know we were all hoping that we wouldn't have to do any more of these, but what a blessing that we have this technology that we can be together in this way, even when we have to be apart. We don't know how long we're going to be uh, not meeting in person. We don't know if it's just this week or a small number of weeks or what exactly, but uh, we do know that um, it's very important to us that all of our members um, can be safe in this time, and we know that there's been a lot of spread, um, even spread that hits very close to home lately. So for today, at least, here we are. Uh, we're we're going to continue our study. Um, if you've been studying with us, um, we're in Mark chapter 6. We've been looking at the feeding of the 5,000. And the last 2 weeks, we've looked at this narrative and we focused on first, we looked at Jesus and uh, the way that the whole narrative started by him trying to um, meet the needs of the people closest to him. And we talked about how when we care for the people around us, that the circles around us, like the community, notices when the love of Jesus is being spread. That even though Jesus just intended to have a quiet, intimate get together with his closest disciples who needed a meal, needed to be cared for. All the people saw what was going on and wanted to be a part of it. And then last week we looked at kind of the role of those disciples once all the crowds came and they decided that it was necessary to feed them. We looked at their role in being told by Jesus, okay, feed them. And we talked about how sometimes Jesus calls on us to do what we can, even in a situation that is truly impossible for us, even in a situation where we desperately need Jesus to take over and finish the job. Sometimes he says, I want to see what you can do first. And so we talked about what we can do to do our part so that um, we can be a part of those solutions, part of the work that God is doing through His people. Today, I wanted to focus a little more on those 5,000 or more people who came to hear Jesus. Spend some time thinking about these people. I know sometimes we can be maybe a little critical, a little cynical about the people who came to Jesus. We can say, oh, these are people who just wanted to see something amazing. These are people who wanted their bellies filled. I know I've been guilty, even recently, of saying some of those things. Um, but I think as I spent some time trying to put myself in their shoes and trying to see some of the things that the text has to say about the people who are following Jesus at this time, um, maybe we shouldn't be too hard on them. We see a group of people that we don't know a lot about, but one trait that we see about these people is perhaps helplessness. Um, of course, we know everybody had their own backgrounds, everybody had their own reasons that are unique to them for coming to see Jesus, but as a group, we see them very much portrayed as people in great need. One way we see that is from Jesus' response. When he saw them, if you recall, here in chapter 6, it says um, in verse 34, when Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began teaching them many things. And at the end of chapter 6, this isn't necessarily the same crowd or the same people, because Jesus had moved on to a different place. But we see, starting in chapter 6, verse 56, it says, "And wherever he went, into villages, towns, or countryside, they placed the sick in the marketplaces. They begged him to let them touch even the edge of his cloak, and all who touched him were healed." We see people who feel like they don't have any choice, any option, any way of getting what they need so desperately other than getting it from Jesus. And I have to say, rather than having the cynical reaction, I can find a little bit of kinship with them. Um, I, I, I can find myself realizing that I am one of these people who can't do it without Jesus. And particularly right now, um, there is a sense of helplessness that many of us, I think, are feeling. And so maybe we can put ourselves in these shoes, and we can understand where these people are coming from, and some of this helplessness. And in this particular narrative, uh, what they needed help with most directly was they were hungry. They uh, they had come uh, into a isolated place, probably good length from their homes, from any supplies, and they wanted to hear something from Jesus. They didn't want to go, and they wanted to keep listening, but they were hungry. And it was very obvious at that time that it wasn't going to happen unless Jesus did something. The disciples said that. They said, "Jesus, we need you to do something." And he says, "Well, what do you got?" And they get a little bit of food. And then Jesus does something amazing. People didn't know, the disciples didn't know what Jesus was going to do. But they didn't know who else to come to. And we find ourselves in that place where we don't know what the answer is, but we know who's got the answer. And just like that day, it's Jesus. It kind of reminds me of another bread and fish scene with Jesus. If you flip over to Matthew chapter 7, the third chapter of the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus is teaching about prayer. And in this section, he starts off with very familiar words. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives. He who seeks finds, and to him who knocks the door will be opened. And then he says this: which of you, if his son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for fish, will give him a snake? If you then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? Jesus says, ask, seek, knock. He doesn't guarantee fish and bread to everyone, but he says, if you know me, and if you know the Father, you know I'm not here to harm you. If you ask for bread and fish, you will not come away with stones and snakes. Trust and ask. Be in prayer. Come to Jesus with our needs. Now, it's true a global pandemic might seem a little bit bigger than bread and fish. That's true. but it's not bigger than Jesus. Just like the people with Jesus, those 5,000 people that day, we don't know how Jesus will answer our prayers. We don't know what God's going to do. But we know that Jesus is not the God of rocks or snakes or viruses. Not a God who turns away the hungry or the broken or the sick. There's a song that I learned sometime in junior high, I think, junior high or high school, that in hard times I sing to myself. I don't often sing this song out loud, and it's just a short little tune that is actually intended to be repeated, and in hard times I've repeated it to myself. It became a song that I would try to spur myself on in cross-country races and triathlons. When I didn't feel like I had the strength, I would sing this little song, and other times when things got hard, uh, this is what I would sing. I've got confidence. My Lord is gonna see me through. No matter what the case may be, my Lord is gonna be here with me. And it repeats. And it goes on and on as long as I need it. And it continues to be true. I've got confidence. My Lord is gonna see me through, no matter what the case may be. My Lord is gonna be here with me. And this song about confidence isn't about confidence in myself. And I say this is something I sang during races or in other tough times, and it wasn't a statement of I know that I've got it, I know that I have the strength and I'm going to do it. Maybe I should feel that confidence, but those are not the times that song comes to mind for me. When I sing that song, it is a reminder that I have confidence in my Lord. I have confidence that Jesus is going to take care of me. That I'm not alone. That something good is going to happen, because no matter how hard the times are, no matter how hard the task is, my Lord's bigger. And we're in the middle of a big test right now. It's concerning a lot of us. We're going to get through. We're going to be blessed. And even though we don't know the how, we know the who. We know who's going to take care of it. And so we ask, we seek, we knock, we pray, we stay with Jesus as long as it takes. We stay in front of the only one who has the answers. It's our only hope. And I've got confidence. And I pray that you do too. And I will see you next week. I don't know if it's going to be through a monitor like this, or if we'll get to be together. But I know that our family is strong. And I know that the one who holds our family together is faithful. And so we ought to be as well. And so I'm going to close this morning with some familiar words from 3 John. I hope to see you soon. And I pray that we can see each other face to face. Peace to you.